One of the world's most desertified and arid countries, known for enduring some of recent history's most severe famines and droughts, has been quietly transforming large areas of its most barren deserts into lush forests and fertile farmland, thanks to combining ancient methods with modern techniques and cooperation within communities to make revolutionary changes to their environment, improving the lives and livelihoods of large amounts of its population. More than 43,000 hectares of land has been restored, 85% of farmers have reported larger yields, and 76% of farmers have increased their sales. And rivers and streams that had dried up in valleys that were previously lifeless desert wastelands now flow with water again, sustaining people and growing crops with multiple harvests a year. But if that isn't amazing enough on its own, the most incredible part is that they have reforested over 2,700 hectares without planting any trees. That's right, this lush forest has been restored from barren land without any trees or seeds being planted. So stick around to find out how one of the most successful examples of reforestation you will ever see was done without planting anything at all. So let's dive into this incredible story of how this remarkable country has turned its deserts green. In Ethiopia, an incredible transformation has been occurring, because these dry and arid hills are gradually being turned from degraded sandy deserts into healthy productive farmlands. Valleys where there used to be no water are greener than they have been in the last 150 years. Although many still think of Ethiopia as a land of famine and drought, this is actually a rare example of a country that's been taking action to heal its landscapes. Ethiopia is located in the Horn of Africa and is surrounded by some of the largest deserts on Earth, such as the Sahara Desert and the Great Arabian Deserts. The country is also home to the Danakil Desert, which is known as one of the hottest and driest deserts on Earth, with temperatures regularly reaching 55 degrees Celsius, and it has less than 1 inch of rainfall a year. Ethiopia's proximity to so many deserts make it susceptible to extreme heat, drought and land degradation. But it wasn't always like this. Ethiopia is an ancient civilization with a long history that was formerly known as a Garden of Eden. At least 66% of the country was previously covered with forest and woodlands. However, during the last 150 years, they had nearly all been cleared. By the 1950s, the forest area had been reduced to just 16% of the country, and in 1982, only 3.1% of the land remained as forest. Removing almost all of its forest and trees had a devastating effect on the country's climate. It stopped raining, the rivers, springs and wells dried up, and the country experienced an onslaught of significant droughts, which prevented them from growing any crops, which caused devastating famines between 1983 and 1985. However, over the last decades, communities across Ethiopia have been coming together to totally redesign their landscapes. Communities work together to plan and design their own landscape and micro watersheds. Together they decide and implement the solutions of their choice, guided by experts who support them with options and know-how. After the community agrees on the strategy that's most beneficial for their area, they all work together, building large-scale structures of different types of water harvesting techniques, which includes terraces, deep trenches, check dams, and percolation ponds in communal areas. In the Tigray region, inspired by China's rehabilitation of the Lost Plateau, communities work together to construct these wide terraces that soak rainwater into the ground so that the land can be used for agriculture, opening up opportunities for cash crops like onions and fruit trees. It's estimated that communities have moved at least 90 million tons of soil and rock by hand across the whole of Ethiopia to restore their landscapes on about 1 million hectares. Communities have designed their landscapes based on the movement of water through the watershed. This can be seen by dividing the landscape into 4 sections, with irrigated land on the valley bottom, rain-fed croplands, grazing areas higher up, and the eroded upper slopes. Firstly, efforts focused on the rain-fed croplands by building soil and water conservation measures like terraces and earth bunds. Earth bunds are banks made of earth to reduce the flow of water. Grass is planted on the bunds to stabilize and hold the banks together, and trenches are dug out above the bunds to capture water, which then sinks into the soil. Gradually, rehabilitation works are extended to the degraded, overgrazed communal areas by managing livestock. Grazing animals are a major contributor to desertification from eating vegetation and trampling the ground, so communities across Ethiopia have fenced off areas to protect the locations they want to reforest, and livestock are no longer allowed to roam freely. Instead, farmers now cut and carry grass bundles to feed their animals close to their homes, and livestock is rotated and moved about more regularly so grasslands get the chance to recover. Efforts then expanded onto upper slopes by treating gullies with rock dams and restoring forests. As a result, rainfall is captured over large areas, the level of water in wells is rising, and seasonal rivers start to flow all year, opening opportunities for irrigation and diversification of crops, increasing yields and therefore the income of the people. Strategies to manage and restore streams and rivers has played an important role. Simple damming techniques were successfully used all across Ethiopia to slow down the flow of water in streams and rivers. This is done to stop flooding and erosion and allow the water to seep into the ground in order to help plant growth. Here you can see how effective small rock dams are at bringing back plant life in just a few months. And all along this larger river, dams have been installed at regular intervals to stop water washing away and taking the riverbanks with it. One of the most exciting and impressive projects in Ethiopia is a remarkable reforestation project in Humbo, where a 2,700 hectare forest has been naturally regenerated. This incredible satellite photo shows the full extent of the initiative, which involves 7 local communities, and what makes it even more outstanding is that this was all achieved without planting a single tree. Instead, they applied a technique called FMNR. FMNR stands for Farmer Managed Natural Regeneration, which is a method pioneered by Tony Rinaudo, who developed the technique while living in Niger during the droughts and famines of the 1980s. Before the land was regenerated, this area was bare of trees, apart from some remaining shrubs, which was actually how they managed to regenerate the forest. FMNR is based on pruning and protecting shrubs already growing on a landscape because they already have developed root systems and are adapted to the climate. And what Tony Rinaudo found out in Niger is that they can actually grow into healthy trees a lot faster than it would take to plant new trees from seed or saplings. So let's hear from Tony himself about exactly how to do it.
So what I'm going to do, there's too many stems here for it to become a tree very quickly, and I'm going to reduce some of that competition, because what's happening, every tip there is sending a message, feed me. When you reduce that messaging, all of the energy goes to just the selected few stems that you've left. It's a very, very quick process, but already, just from that little bit of pruning, it's starting to look like a young tree. They grow surprisingly quickly. This is only less than 2 meters tall, but there might be 20 or even 30 meter depth of root down there, sending up water and nutrients to support that growth. Clear the grass away first. Then you can see what's happening. Okay?
Yes.
And maybe I take this one off. And if you go up instead of down. When you go down, you can damage it. That's right. Yeah. Good. Good boy. What's wonderful here, when you prune the trees, you get all this leaf litter, and it's cooling the soil, it's retaining the moisture, but it's also a food source for microorganisms and macroorganisms like termites. So you're really kick-starting the whole ecosystem. If you give nature a chance, it will heal itself. That's been very, very exciting. In terms of the water, the springs here had completely dried up. They would only flow immediately after rain. Now, out of 13 springs that have returned, already 6 of them are flowing throughout the year.
As a result of all of these measures, many streams and rivers that were dry now have a continuous flow all year, and even in the driest months of the year, there is still an abundant water supply.
The solutions to today's complex problems are embarrassingly simple. And when I describe FMNR, it's embarrassingly simple. You know, people are expecting some big scientific explanation and complex machinery and all this kind of thing. It's embarrassingly simple, but I'm not ashamed because it works. It works.
Click this link here if you want to watch an exclusive interview with Tony where he goes into some interesting details about this project.